Another episode of the podcast, boys. How was your weekend? We went to Nats over the weekend.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was a very hot afternoon. Actually, Nat's got some fans and some aircon in there, which was great. But what a way to kick off the season for us! First workshop, and the numbers were good. Pretty phenomenal.
How many did you have? I saw some footage and I was like,
just under 30.
Just under 30. It's close to a small show.
Just under 30, which was awesome. And MT did a bit of an introduction with Nat as well, and we spoke, and as we normally do, just to suss out, who in the room is a first timer, who's first time competing with NBA, and would you say 75% were first time competitors, and probably similar numbers first time with NBA. So
wow,
it's exciting for us. We love first time competitors, and even to see some previous competitors come back and compete a second and third time was awesome. But it was a great group of people. Met so many new competitors, and I was pumped when I walked out. I was sweaty too, but I was pumped, man.
And we had some really, really nice people mention the potty and saying how much it's helped them along the way. And
we had some beautiful feedback.
Yeah, it was really nice.
I mean, one of the competitors said some really nice words that got me and MT a little bit. It
was lovely.
A little bit touched, which was nice. To Scotty as well, but just about the help that the podcast gave through the journey, and just the amount of information that we've put out over the years, and we were appreciative of that. So. Thanks everyone for their support.
We actually got a couple of extra followers after that too. I think some people heard about it, and I saw the follower count go up a little bit. So we got a couple of new listeners, so I appreciate that. That was absolutely amazing. But it was a really, really good turnout. Nat does an amazing workshop.
She really does.
And Amanda was there too, other posing coach.
Yeah, Amanda did a great job.
Yeah.
She's an incredible poser.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's absolutely amazing.
Just for anyone that doesn't know, we're talking about Amanda, who won her Bikini Pro Cut and then went on to win the Bikini Pro Show. Shout out to Amanda. She was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. And then the next day, I actually went to Donna's one-day birthday for a posing studio.
Oh, yes, for the posing locker. Yeah. Happy birthday to Donna.
Yeah, and that was awesome. Really good turnout. Saw some of your clients there, and Scotty and some of your clients. One of your clients that's in prep, I wasn't supposed to tell you this, but she won a box of donuts. She's not eating. But she won it. Yeah, I had a bit of a laugh when she won that prize, a box of donuts.
She probably looked at you straight away.
She did. She goes, "Don't tell Scotty." So sorry, but I told Scotty. But
not only did you just tell Scotty, you just told the whole world as well.
Not good at keeping a secret, but yeah, it was awesome. And also we had people there that are also coming to the retreat, that met each other as well, which was really, really good. So we had some retreat peeps there, which was awesome. And we're getting a really good crew. I think we say it every year. Every year we have the best crew, but this year is going to be an amazing crew too. So
we've actually still got, I think, was it 3 or 4 spots left?
Got a couple left. Yeah, we're waiting for some people to confirm their spot, but I'm going to do another post just to be like, if anyone else is really interested in coming, got a couple of spots left, and then we're going to lock it down, and then that's it.
It's gonna be amazing, especially to just get out of winter.
Yes.
Get some Bali sun.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. We've got a couple of new things going on with it, and looking forward to all the seminars and stuff too as well. So
it's gonna be good.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. And we'll do a potty there as well. Again.
Yeah, which everyone frothed that last.
Yeah, everyone.
I just want to say it out loud. I'm manifesting. Third time lucky. I will be part of the Bali podcast. I've missed the first 2. The first one I had a baby. The second one I had to leave the trip. This one, I will be part of.
You're going to be there. It's going to be a celebration when he's there. But yeah, it was that was really good too for Donna's. Actually, Tony Lanciano was there. Had a really good chat with him too about a lot of things. So that was good. And yeah, there was a lot of incredible athletes and other people that we knew there. So it was really, really good day.
Really hot, yeah.
She had the AC on. It was good.
It was all right?
Yeah, it was like this, like low ceiling, AC pumping. It was pretty comfy in there. So
I did think of you guys in the say. I was outside mowing the lawns, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm hot." But I reckon you was too. Didn't that have AC?
Nat had AC and a fan, and it was okay in there. But it's a tall ceiling, so it's difficult. But it was still pretty comfortable in there.
Maybe not. Maybe for you it was. I'm always hot, but
it would have been cooler than the sauna that you work in every day.
Man, tell me about it.
Your warehouse is...
My gym's boiling.
Yeah.
I trained on Friday morning or Saturday morning. Whenever the first hot night was, it got to like 38 or 39 that day. When I came in the morning, I think the overnight low was 26. No word of a lie. It was like 45 in there.
Yeah.
And then I opened those 2 roller doors up, expecting relief. Got none.
No, because there's no breeze.
Nice warm breeze from outside.
There's no breeze.
It's tough.
And then I spoke to Donna again last night. We had an IG live with Donna and Stewie, and we had another bit of an info session for all the peeps. We had a lot of questions actually for that live.
We had good attendance as well.
Yeah, it was really good
Numbers
attendance.
were really good.
Yep. And we had a lot of good questions too. It was so funny because some of the questions that were asked had to do with the pro qualifier video that you did. The show qualifier video that you did.
Okay.
And then some of them were pricing questions. So in there I was like, go check our Instagram page.
Yeah.
Scotty did a really good video. MG did a really good video. Check it out. But a lot of other questions that came up were some information that we didn't have on our socials or didn't have on our website. So it's good when we have those sessions so we know what we need to, put out there and those kind of things too. So it was really, really good. But that's pretty much about it. How was your weekend?
Man, it seems like it was eternity ago. It was pretty good. I remember it was hot. It was pretty much just pottering around there, as you tend to do when I'm a homebody. I like to catch up on things that I can get done. I'm very much aware that really, we've got 2 more weeks and then pretty much flying most weekends, and then it's shows, and then I'm over in Europe, and then we're back in the middle. So I'm kind of trying to just make as much progress as I can, just hanging out at home and just taking care of basic things. Like I get joy out of I'm a grass man. I mow my lawns, and when I got back from the UK, my grass in the backyard was just non-existent. It was absolutely trash. So bringing that back to life has been like a little passion project of mine.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it, man. Just a bit of gardening, take it easy, spend some time with you and the kids.
We actually started. Well, for me, it was an early start on Saturday morning because we had.
Oh, sorry, we did. We had the
meeting with
nice little 4:30 wake up.
Yeah. I wasn't up that early.
I was.
I haven't woke up that early on a Saturday in a long time.
For me, cognitively, to be able to operate at an okay level, I just need to be awake and have some caffeine and just. I like being able to take my time, have a shower, have coffee, relax.
Yep.
And the meeting was
6 a.m.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So when we started, I was on the way into here when we had the meeting.
That's exactly right.
Please tell the people why you were up at 4:30 and what meeting you were having at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, because it sounds dodgy at this point.
Yeah. So it was a meeting with the DFBA, so Drug Free Bodybuilding Alliance.
Awesome.
So 2 guys over in the States. They're starting this alliance for all the natural federations to ensure that we all operate at a certain standard and to make sure that they can level up the industry in a way so that we're operating the best we possibly can for the athletes and coaches. And the reason why we align so well with them, and they found that we align so well with them, is because we're already operating at that standard and then some. So all the things that we've implemented, all the things that we're doing really, really well, from a consistency, transparency, fairness with judging, testing, the production that we put out there, it was already above and beyond what they wanted to make sure everyone was reaching. So when they did reach out to us and we got talking, it was a perfect fit. Like, I think I spoke to you after the call and was like, those guys are just like the US version of us. Like, they're honestly the exact same mentality as us. I guess the difference is we were fed up with the industry and some of the standards, so we decided to buy into a federation. And they're fed up with the industry and standards, so they decided to creating an alliance, which is awesome. So basically, they want to align as many natural federations as possible worldwide to make sure they can all hold a certain standard. But also too is, and it's more of a struggle they have in the States at the moment, where certain federations don't allow people to cross-compete. They will have their pro card will be void and those kind of things. We don't really have that much of an issue here. We do have a show, pro shows, where it is the best of the best. Any pro from any federation can compete. It's not really a thing over there, to be honest, but they want something like that. So they're trying to create an alliance where all these bodybuilding federations can agree to operate at a standard, but also to then hold a show where all those federation competitors can come together to make one big mega show. So we already kind of do that for NBA at the moment, where we can have the best of the best in the country from the pro perspective come and compete, but they want to do it on a global scale. So
Man, I'm literally getting
getting
goosebumps. So what you're saying, you're talking a global
it's like
best of the best.
Yeah.
The
Pro
Super
show.
Bowl.
Yeah.
So
Fuck yeah.
for context, for eligibility, you have to be voted in. So each federation will have a board member, and say I think there's a cap. There's maybe 18 that are allowed to sit on the board. So there's a cap of obviously how many feds will fall under the umbrella, and So basically, each federation can nominate. Say you've got all your divisions: men's physique, bodybuilding, classic, bikini, figure. They have bodybuilding and female, etc. And so we put forward who we think. Okay, I think Michael Triboli. I think it's going to be your best bikini girl, which would be what's her name? The girl from the posing workshop on the weekend.
Amanda.
Amanda, yeah, Amanda, oh, yeah, she's not my client, yeah, sure, yeah.
Ridiculous, incredible physique. So it's like, all right, well, we can represent you. It goes through, and so basically, as a board, everyone votes to say, yeah, they're of that caliber, they can go through, or their credentials meet the prerequisite for us to, enter them into the show. And so you're not just like a pro and you automatically qualify.
You've been selected.
You've got to be like one of the best within your federation to be able to put your hand up and say, I want to do it, and obviously you then need the other feds to be able to say, yeah,
that's caliber worthy,
yeah. And so you're literally throwing down against the not just pros from other feds,
the best pros.
Yeah, the best. Yeah.
So as soon as he was talking about it, like as an athlete, I was starting to get a little bit itchy. And
it's like that before. Yeah, we know.
So I think from that perspective, as a pro athlete, because as a pro, it is challenging in that you can spend so much time in a contest prep and you are limited to an extent with what you can do as far as shows go, and also, traveling to open up new doors. And so this is ultimately going to give us a pipeline, but also for our pros to enter all of these other federations. You want to go and do a show over in the UK, you want to go to Canada, you want to go to New Zealand. We have alliances all over the world.
The US?
The US, huge.
The US,
so there's just a pipeline for you. You have so many different avenues to where you can now compete. And obviously you have this Mecca Super Bowl show, which literally is the best of the best, where you can see where you stand against, all of the top guys and girls in the UK and in the US and Asia. So it's just, I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, it is super exciting. And for us, for NBA, it was it unlocked a new level. Like it was a missing piece.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're in China, we're in Bali, in Indonesia. It was that next getting into Europe, getting into the US.
It's a big piece.
And it's a big piece that we really, really wanted. And we knew it was going to take time. We wanted to do it right. And it all just aligned perfectly. So,
what can you tell us about the two directors? What's
legends? They literally are like American versions of what we stand for. Like they're like-minded guys, educated guys, super passionate about natural bodybuilding. And that was the thing that Brandon wasn't on the call, but James was. But even he and I were going back and forth on the text pretty much for the remainder of the day. And it was just to be able to, you could just see instantly how passionate these guys are about it and just wanting to evoke change. Just had enough of the same old, bullshit that you see across the board and wanting it to be better. And essentially let's standardize it, like let's make natural bodybuilding, as cliche as it sounds, great. And equally, they have the exact vision to what we do, which is why I think for both parties it was a no-brainer, because this is what we want, this is what they want, and nothing changes if nothing changes. So to be the first, to put our hand up and to do that, and I'm very confident that others will follow suit, because I think you'd be crazy not to, because like I said, it's gonna, if you're not aligned, it means that you miss out on having that opportunity to give your athletes that pipeline. But everything that these guys are doing and that have plans for, it's going to be very exciting.
It truly feels like the biggest winners are the athletes.
Oh, 100%.
Totally. You can see the amount of work that's and already has gone in to get this to where it is. And all I'm seeing is better pathways for competitors.
Yeah.
And just on the athletes, part of the board, which I also really like, part of it referred to as like a coalition. These directors, it's not just run by owners of feds, so there'll actually be athlete representatives that will be selected on a global scale. So, you think about some of the real big names in, so I don't know, say if you're in the US, someone like, say like a Cliff Wilson would come to mind, or like an Alberto Nunez, or, if you're in the UK, like AJ, someone like that. So people that have a lot of reach, super passionate, everyone is across. To have people like that, obviously, I don't know if they're going to reach out to them individually.
Well, funnily, AJ commented on the announcement post.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Pretty cool.
There's potentially something
pretty cool
in the background there as well. But I think having that as well, so that there is an athlete's voice, because I think for us, even with NBA, one of the things that I think has made such a big shift, and credit to Stu, he was just so passionate about bringing in a fresh set of eyes. It's like anything, when you're just constantly pounding on a task, sometimes a different approach and a new set of eyes can give you different perspective. And that I think we all agree it's forced everyone to look at it through a different lens, and we've been able to, as a collective, as a four, take MBA to a different level. And I think this is the thing, having like-minded individuals, but on a global scale, and incorporating feds and also athletes, and it gives the athletes an understanding of, what actually goes on to put shows together. Like, we didn't really understand any of that until you're in the trenches.
Of course.
See it. So I think the athletes are the ones that will benefit. And obviously on an amateur level, it gives you that, not only do I want to try and take a pro card, but then it allows you to just shoot off into a completely different, stratosphere. So
Man, surely that's the first of its kind. An alliance, a global alliance that has input on a board level from not just federation directors, but athletes.
Yeah. I think there's tried to be other alliances in the past. I think there's current alliances in other countries.
just haven't gained momentum. Maybe.
But they haven't gained momentum, but also it's not set up like that.
But do they, what I'm saying
It's not
is,
set up like that.
with athlete board members,
Yeah,
like that's I
and
haven't heard that.
federation board members. No, they don't have something like that.
It's just the owners are the board members in most
Correct.
cases. So
And they're
this is-
just dictating the way the alliance should be
but you've
run.
got board members from across the globe. That's
right.
That's what's such a game changer
Yeah,
with this.
that's awesome.
And that's I think going to be the key to success.
Yeah. So, so you've got federations aligning to operate at a certain standard, so then they can put on this monster show. At the moment, it's in the US at the end of the year, but it will be rotated around. And what will happen is this show will be so big, so prestigious, that if the other feds want to get involved, it'll be force them to level up to a standard before they can join. So it's just going to make the industry even better, which is exactly what we want. So it's super exciting. But maybe you want to talk about the show that they do have for the Alliance for the first time at the end of this year.
Yeah, so it's going to be it's just out of Boston, I believe, isn't it?
Massachusetts, yeah.
Massachusetts, yeah.
Yep.
So that's where it'll run. The exact amount of feds that are involved as it stands now, I'm actually not 100%. I'm not going to speak to numbers because I'm not fully across it. But obviously it's their first one. They're wanting to make it as big as possible. And so NBA pro athletes that meet that criteria in that mold, technically, and obviously as directors, I guess that would be part of the role for us to decide who we think we would put up as. And again, it's not, you can put someone's name forward, but if 16 other people say nay, then it's a no-go. So that's what makes it so cool, because even if you're granted access, it's like you're already, by your peers from other feds, you're being vouched for to go and throw down. So the show itself is going to take place, I believe it's in November the 1st. So it's the weekend, I think, before the Natty Olympia. So it's over in the US, which is super exciting, and timing-wise works well for us because we got Bali the week before that. So in my head, I'm like, well, Jen's going to love this because we're going to be in Bali. We're probably going to come back for a day, or I don't know how we'll work. Probably go straight out to the US, and then...
before Bali, potentially we'll be in China, right? So we're going to go from our nationals in Sydney to China to Bali to the States.
Yeah.
And then potentially while we're in the States, we might actually the following weekend go to the Natural Olympia and other things like that.
I've got athletes on that show, so I think I'm going to be there for that anyway. So it probably ties in okay, but it's just, there's basically going to be like 4 weeks when you've got the nationals. 4 weeks where it's just bang, 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 bang. So it's going to move really, really quickly, but I think it also, it just gives a little bit more of a glow to Season C in terms of it's a little bit more special, because you could have someone who right now may be an amateur athlete and they could go pro and they could find themselves in Boston thrown down against
The best.
the best of the best, which is very exciting. So
This is awesome. I can see his eyes light up because
Man.
you want to do it. I know you want to do it for yourself. Or like as an athlete.
I think Scotty's made the word throwdown a staple in natural bodybuilding now. It's the best. How many people are going to, like,
Throw
you
down.
stand on stage, you know what, you are throwing down. I love that as a way to look at standing on stage competing is you're throwing down. Like,
Yep. I love
yeah,
it.
it is very, very exciting. And I love the fact that you have to be essentially like voted on for that. It's not like you can say I'm a pro, so I'll just put my hand up and do it. You have to be vouched for to go in and do it. And I think that, I know if that was me as an athlete, it would be like, I need to go to another level again because I'm representing my Fed. And I also look at this as a Fed being like, we want our athletes to be like, we want to be on a global scale. So, and there's probably in-house, I mean, I'm a competitive individual. I'm sure there's a bit like, we want to make sure that you know, after the show, everyone's like, those Australians, they don't fuck around.
Yeah, the Aussie athletes are pretty good. Yeah.
So it's very exciting.
Yeah,
I reckon
awesome.
there's some pros out there right now listening, just doing this.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Well, this is the thing, it's February, so, you know, maybe it's never too late to throw your hat in the ring.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get stuck into some questions.
hang on, because we had a few doozies last week. As long as we're not starting with watermelon, that's okay.
Yeah, well, that came in saying my wife has now banned me from asking questions. So we can guess who asked
Fair
that
enough.
question.
Well, I asked you who asked that question, and I
You
said,
were right.
is it this individual? And you said yes, it is.
And now he's been banned.
I got some rapid fires while you're looking.
Okay, go.
This is this one. Can Scotty or MT lick their elbow?
No.
You sure?
I can't, like, there's no...
You know he's setting you off for that.
There's no way I
he's
can do
also
it.
the same individual that's asked that question.
I don't know.
I don't think he was asked that question.
It was randomized. It was randomized.
Trying to get you to lick your elbow.
Have you ever texted or emailed the wrong person something about them by accident?
No. No. No.
I have.
Have you really?
Yeah, I was dealing with a conveyancer once who was doing some legal documents for me on a house purchase, and it was just the worst process ever. And I basically typed an email to someone who was helping me for something else in relation to it, about how bad they were and sent it to that person.
Oh, no.
And how was that received?
It was pretty fun. I was pretty disappointed, but I was at the end of my tether at that point anyway, man. So.
Wow.
Okay, question for Scotty. If my PT makes me cry during a session on a 35-degree day, how much sodium will I need to replenish? This is one of your clients, isn't it?
I don't know.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
Can't be me.
If it's
So I don't PT anyone.
let's just say if it's a super hot day and you're training someone, you're training really, really hard, should they top up sodium post-workout if they've sweated a lot?
Yeah, if it's a serious question, I mean, in terms of... Well, that's so funny.
No, because I think it's one of your
serious,
clients. It's
yeah.
like someone's making them train really hard on a
It
hot
might- I'm
day.
just trying to rack my brain who it would be. Could
Could be one of mine. I mean,
there's one person I
I've
know
done a lot
that
of
Chris
35
trained,
degrees.
and to be fair, she was training in here on the hack spot machine. It was very fucking hot the other day, so it might be her, and her name rhymes with Tara.
Yeah.
If she's watching this, and she probably is, then I'll ask Chris afterwards if it's her. But in terms of fluid and sodium loss, it depends how much you're sweating. So you could look at your sweat rate, but typically on average, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 megs of sodium per hour in terms of what you could lose theoretically. So if you're training, and granted, if it's 35 degrees, you would assume that your fluid loss is going to be quite high. Then you would lose a bit of fluid, in which case you would lose a lot of sodium. And if you don't get it right, and I can actually say that I got it wrong yesterday, I trained legs and I woke up at 1:45 last night, and I almost knocked down my wife in the window because I had the worst
cramp.
in my entire leg. Yeah, and I was walking around upstairs.
Quad cramp. Oh,
I couldn't get back
it's
to sleep.
so
It was
brutal.
almost 2 a.m. So
Oh.
I actually, in the end, the only way to get it to, I tried salt tablets. I tried having like a quarter of a teaspoon of Vegemite, just because the really strong taste. That's why they use wasabi sometimes, because sometimes it's not just sodium; it can be just an oversensory issue where you're just overstimulated, and sometimes that can sort of offset it. But in the end, I literally just had the shower head with cold water on my legs, just standing there for a bit, and then eventually the cramp
It
stopped.
eased off, yeah.
It went away, and then I literally got into bed, and then it was like I was almost like anxious trying to get to sleep. So I'm like, fuck if it goes again.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that, and then knowing my hamstrings are cooked, and if you ever had a quad cramp, you stretch it out, and then your hamstring goes,
Yeah.
then you're really fucked.
Yeah.
And so I was like just trying to stay as calm as I could, but I woke up this morning and I was like, my legs are trashed.
Yeah.
And probably like some of the worst times I've ever had, because they were flexed beyond belief for about an hour and a half at 1:45 last night.
His range of motion in 4 days is going to be amazing.
I did everything, like I had a little bit more sodium, but equally it was a lot hotter, and I reckon I lost a bit more, so maybe I just had too much water and not enough salt.
Not enough salt. There you go.
It's one of those things.
So a gram an hour.
Yeah.
I think
Working
to work off it, to be safe, I think if you're someone who is a sweater, and this might sound gross, but if you know when you sweat your t-shirt, how if you like sort of suck it afterwards, it tastes really salty.
Yeah.
There's a good indicator that it's, there's a high concentration of sodium.
Sodium.
But equally, sometimes if you're wearing a black t-shirt, you get those like white lines or people on their caps. That's also
Sodium.
an indicator that you're losing a lot of sodium, in which case
That's a
you're
good indicator. That's a good
you're
point.
probably on the higher threshold. And that's why, like, when I train in the heat, I'll always wear black, so that I'm like, if I'm really white, I know I've lost a bit, and it kind of helps inform how I go about it if you don't have a sweat testing kit on your person. So I think as a rule, it's the worst thing. Like, I'd rather you have a bit too much and then afterwards you're like really, really thirsty because your osmoreceptors will let you know within like an hour if you've had too much, because your blood sodium levels will be too high and you'll need water. So I would always have a little bit extra maybe than what you need, just to be safe.
Just in case. Yep. Okay, cool.
I can see myself walking around the gym now, just looking for people's sweaty t-shirts.
Yeah.
Right? That's white. You need sodium. You're fine. You're fine.
MG, suck it on something. What are you doing? That's salty.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
How many kgs is a sweet spot you like for your clients to lose in a prep, and how do you plan that out sustainably? Do you have a kg marker, or is it more of a percentage that you want them to lose? Or?
I think it's more just like having them think about like what a standard prep would be in terms of weeks, and making sure that I can lose that amount of weight within that amount of weeks sustainably, and making sure that my starting position, rather than a specific number, I think, because everyone's bandwidth's going to be different. I think, just ensuring that you've got enough time to do what's necessary without having to chase your tail at the back end is probably more important, because it's just so different for every competitor.
Yeah.
And like, if you look at, say, a bodybuilder versus a bikini athlete, they're obviously going to need to get to different levels of composition.
Yep.
So I think timeline is probably more important, and sustainability. So I would look at, if I'm looking at a 26-week prep and I look at, a rate of loss of, say, 0.5% a week, what is truly achievable across that period? If it's anything way outside of that range, I probably need to reassess my starting position.
Yeah. So I would say that you wouldn't look at the kg so much, because everyone's weight is different and size is different, especially males and females. It's probably like a percentage of your weight you need to lose from your improvement season to what your stage weight is. Again, if you've never prepped them before, you're guesstimating that stage weight, so it's a little bit more difficult. If you've prepped them 1,001 times before and you've done multiple reverses and off seasons, you kind of know what their peak improvement season weight should be, what their stage weight should be roughly, so you know how long you need based on rate of losses and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, would you say, Scotty, it's more like a percentage-based thing, or do you still work off kgs?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're a first timer, it kind of heightens the importance of the pre-prep, because for me, that's helping inform where that guesstimation of stage weight is going to be. Because if you can ideally pull them down to roughly, ideally like 10-12% of where you think stage weight's going to be, because if you're like, I reckon there's still a bit more there to go, then that will help inform, all right, so this is actually where you're probably going to need to land, in which case this is now the percentage of where you are out. So we need to stay within these parameters. Because I think if you just, we're going to start prep on March 1st and you have no idea and you don't have any of that data from a dieting perspective, you're kind of driving blind a little bit. But I think if you have more than 20% of your body weight to lose, unless you're someone who's just a really, fantastic hyper responder to dialing in real quick, I think you're probably a little bit too soft and you haven't given yourself sufficient time. Because I think the other thing that a lot of people do is, and they work off, get that clean number, say I'm going to aim to lose 0.5%, and these are the generic guidelines that we give. But in reality, and how I approach it from a periodization perspective, you don't want to be just losing 0.5% of body weight per week. When you have more fat mass on you, you have the ability to liberate more fat mass per unit of time. So this week, in reality, my first 4 weeks of preps with athletes, I'm usually shooting for like 1.5 to sometimes even 2 grams per kilogram of body weight per week. So if you're staying, percentage of weeks. So if you're staying within those parameters of that 1.5, 2%, but then after that, you may then give back the system refeed, and then it might be like you're working off 0.25 to 0.5, because getting off that first little chunk of percentage of body weight. And so you should be modulating your rate of loss as time unfolds, because as you get leaner and you have less fat mass, I would argue, and this is not everyone does this, but I think you need to place more of an emphasis on, coming up for air and how flat is too flat, bringing the physique back to life, because you risk degrading lean mass.
Yeah.
And this is where some people are like, but if you're too lean too early, you've got to assess the athlete. But you look at the top tier level, athletes that are conditioned, they look fantastic like 12 weeks out, because in reality, and usually they're not having to grind and limp to the finish line, because they're able to do less and potentially feed a bit more to just go a lot slower, which makes the prep a lot more sustainable.
Yep.
I think, man, that's one of the biggest differences between elite coaches and coaches is the ability to timeline out a prep.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, making sure that you have the right phases for the right lengths, the right rate of losses, the right rate of gains, give them enough time for everything to be achieved.
It's like, we do training with other coaches all the time, and sometimes you get asked, like, how do you know you're going to bring refeeds in 7 weeks from now? It's like, well, we know that, pushing someone too hard beyond that many weeks in a row, continually in a deficit, potentially will have a trade-off because we've had so many years in the trenches and we've seen it. We've done it ourselves.
Yeah.
So we've learned from it. And, one of the things that I get asked a lot from other coaches is, how did you pick that number as their approximated stage weight?
Yeah.
As like, you've never prepped them. How did you know? You know what it is? It's years and years and years of prepping athletes. And I'm like, you look similar to the girl that I coached 2 seasons ago. Similar height, similar starting weight, maybe similar amount of muscle. She was roughly this. I think you're going to be that. So it just comes from time in the trenches and having enough comparisons. We don't just pluck the number out of our ass.
Yeah.
We're basing it off somebody else that we've probably prepped in the past.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So that's a question we get a lot.
Yeah. When you're reverse dieting someone from a cut, how many calories do you increase week to week? Do you use carbs or fats, or is it just a combination of both? Do you pause for a week and then increase again? What metric do you follow? Do you use scale weight, etc.? So when you're reverse dieting someone out of a show or a cut or anything like that?
There's a mini cut, I think.
Yeah, they said out of a cut.
Okay, sorry.
How many calories do you increase? Is there normally a specific jump that you first go to whenever you're coming out of it? Do you look at what their calories are and you go, cool, well, you're probably going to need at least a 400 to 500 calorie increase from this, because it's got to have to be, you have to take away the deficit and then go above the maintenance?
I think the starting position would be, how lean were they?
Mm-hmm.
Like how much recoverability do they need and how quickly do they need it? And Scotty's probably best to talk about it. But if we assume that the athlete is inside out, you're probably going to go a little bit more aggressive to achieve some recoverability faster than, say, somebody who's maybe just been dieting for 9 or 10 weeks and lost a few kilos. I would just be entering a very small surplus and increasing a lot slower versus someone who's maybe been dieting for 30 weeks is absolutely inside out. My surplus would be far greater.
Yeah. So like a typical range of a surplus that you would give someone, I've given someone 400, I've given someone up to 1,000 above what their dieting calories were.
For sure.
And I would say majority of that would be carbohydrate, but you'd also bring in some fats from a hormone health perspective, but also from a food palatability perspective too. If they were dieting for a show and they were super lean, their fats are going to be pretty low. You can't just give them all these carbohydrates and then give them no fats, because what are they going to eat? Cream of rice potentially, but yeah. What do you think, Scotty?
Yeah, I think it depends. If it's a prep, it's very different to if it's a cut. If it's a fat loss phase, the things that I would want to know is what was the duration of the dieting period and where were calories sitting prior to that. So if you have an idea, assuming that they're maintaining prior to entering the fat loss phase, you would have a good idea of roughly where energy balance is at, given that it's not a set amount. Energy balance is a dynamic piece, so it's constantly fluctuating, but it's, say you've got, they're on like 2,500 calories, give or take, plus or minus 5%. And so they might have finished their cut. If it was 6 weeks, I know you had them down on 1,500. I'll typically be more aggressive and I'd rather diet harder for a shorter amount of time, because you can get off what you need to get off a lot less invasively than to elongate the process and waste time when you could be getting better. But it depends. I think if you've got someone, and again, how much time they've been dieting for, it's very rare in a mini cut you're going to accumulate any real dieting fatigue or any physiological adaptation to the dieting condition. So there's not necessarily a need to quickly push food back up. So if you know that, okay, maintenance is probably 2,250 to 2,300, bearing in mind that if you're dieting for a short amount of time, you're not going to get an abundance of metabolic adaptation. So maintenance is still going to be pretty close to where it's been, unless the dieting period's been longer. So if you're wanting to maintain that and just protect body composition, maybe you might bring food up by 50 grams of carbs to start off with, 200 calories, and then assess body weight from there. I use the terminology, let's close the magnitude of the deficit now. So we were at 2,500, we've just finished dieting on 1,500. Let's bring you up to 1,800 for week 1. We'll see where we are. Last week we had an 800 gram weight of loss. The next week right now it's 300. Cool, let's push in another 200 calories to bring you up to 2,100. Let's see where you are, and then gradually bring you back to where you are. And it's constantly, like, in reality, it's a game of snakes and ladders, where you're going up, you want to try and hold that, come back down, and the idea is that you get back to that same set point that you started your last fat loss phase at, but whether you're at the same weight and hopefully at a better body composition, or you know, whether you weigh more but you look composition wise exactly the same.
Awesome. Thoughts on sleeping pills taken once a week in prep if they help you sleep. So I'm assuming they mean like prescription heavy duty sleeping pills. I would say that try to get everything else right first. You know, your sleep hygiene, the time you go to bed, the time you wake up, making sure that maybe you need to adjust how far you eat your last meal before you go to bed. I know for me, I like in prep when I was super hungry, I like to eat right before bed.
Would it be a tin of peaches, would it?
Yeah, it would be like peaches and yogurt or something. So I could just,
soup, yeah.
I could go to bed feeling pretty
Reasonably
full.
satisfied.
Yeah, and then
sure.
it would help me sleep all the way through. So maybe look at those things, you know, all the lifestyle factors, but also where you distribute your food as well. Then I'd look into more of, let's call them natural supplements, ashwagandha, melatonin, those kind of things, magnesium. And if none of those are working, then maybe you do need something a little bit stronger, but it's something that I would still use with caution, and it wouldn't be all the time.
Without a doubt.
But I understand sleep is important.
Yeah.
What do you think, Scotty?
It is, but you have to be careful because a lot of those sleeping prescribed medication, it's very addictive as well, but equally there's a lot of recoil, the drowsiness, that fuzzy prep brain that you already have is multiplied by like probably 5 or 6. I've never taken sleeping medication. I've taken melatonin if I have to, but even then I think you're better off leaning into more of a low-hanging fruit, like tidy up screen time, meal timing, fluid balance, shut off your water early so you're not having to wake up to pee in the middle of the night. But usually in prep, I don't know about you guys, but you have no issues falling asleep because you're cooked at like 6. It's just that you wake up at like 3 because you're hungry.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think, elements of minutia around macronutrient distribution and, more fat of an evening, a higher protein feeding prior to sleep, and usually I'll put a reasonable amount of fiber, like maybe 12 to 15 grams in that meal. It's a lot of vegetable or plant matter.
Yep.
So that you go into bed pretty distended, but equally, like you said, you're full and you can just go to sleep. And then you're still probably going to wake up earlier because it's a physiological thing, but at least that way, maybe it's the difference between you getting 6 or 6.5 hours, which until you've been truly peeled, you don't actually understand the compromise that it takes on your sleep. Mm-hmm. There's not much you can do about it. Again, you can fall asleep fine, and melatonin helps you fall asleep. It doesn't necessarily help you stay asleep.
So,
I think that's probably the...
Anything on that?
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. Like, you got to think where you're at cognitively, and if, let's say it's Monday night, you've been sleeping like shit, so you take one, you have a good night's sleep. Tuesday night, your sleep's average. Wednesday night, it's getting worse. Thursday night, it's 2 a.m., you haven't fallen asleep, and you could just take that pill and have 7 hours, and you've been dieting for 26 weeks. Do you trust yourself that you said you were only going to do it once a week? All of a sudden, it's twice a week, and before you know it, you're 4 or 5 days, and you're in a hole you can't get out of.
Yeah.
I would say avoid at all costs, man.
Yeah. Right, I might finish up on this one. Do you have any good luck rituals or behaviors, like left sock first, stir your porridge clockwise? Do you have anything like that?
Like just in general life, or related to like maybe the show day, or
yeah. I've got one. Well, I had one. I don't really do it anymore.
No, what is it? Oh no, it's easy to say. But
I used to always like wear my lucky jeans.
Yeah, the same jeans.
Yeah, the same jeans to a show. Like I used to, as a coach, I'd wear these same jeans, and there was like just like a lucky jeans. These are the ones I always wear. I've always done well at shows with them. I would always wear them. But then probably over the recent year or two, I stopped wearing them because obviously at MBA, I was wearing different pants. I then had to like have pants that had more pockets because I'd have a salt shaker in there and I'd have some honey in another one or something like that. So I stopped wearing the lucky jeans, but sometimes I bring the lucky jeans out every now and then. But yeah, otherwise I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I used to like to wear a certain pair of Nike shoes like Jordans on show day, but since MBA now wearing a suit, it kind of just got taken away, which is good. I'm glad that I don't feel like I have to put that same pair of shoes on. Because, sometimes I get caught up in some stupid things like, I've said this before on the potty, like needing the TV or the radio volume to be on an even number, not an odd number, or like, if I drive past a cemetery, even though I'm not a religious person, my parents always did a sign of a cross, and now if I don't do a sign of a cross when I drive past a cemetery, because of my dad's, imagine my dad, if he was there, he'd do it. Now I'm like, I've got to do it, but I'm not doing it because I feel like, I necessarily believe, but I do it because of superstitious. Yeah. It's like if I don't, something bad's going to happen to me.
Yeah. Do you have anything?
I don't have anything superstitious, but I have an abundance of like habit things.
Oh my God, somebody actually asked that as a question.
Like, for example, the spoon that I eat out of, it's always the same weird shaped espresso spoon. I'll have that. Took it over to the UK. The container that I eat out of.
Really?
The meal that I eat, my meal one is always out of the glass bowl. The meal that I eat, the yogurt meal, is out of the red container.
Wow.
I eat out of the same bowl every night. I use a certain type of like cutlery spoon that I eat my dinner of. I won't have the one that's shaped more like an oval. It's always like a circle. So there's a lot of those.
Wow.
A lot of mine's really weird. Same with like glasses. I'll use the shorter glasses that are wider, not the taller ones. I don't know. I just have this. People say that I'm on the spectrum.
That's
To be fair, I look at like they don't say it in a with malice, but
Of course not.
to an extent there probably is an element of like
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that. I am pretty particular and OCD. about
Well,
things.
you know with me about my fry pan and my bloody spatula.
Yeah.
Like, I still got the same thing.
all right. I'm the king of overstimulation. So between the three of us, are fucked.
Oh man, that's so funny. All right, let's leave it there.
Okay.
We'll leave it there. I think
Always a good
that was a
catch-up.
good one.
I think it's since being in person, it's feeling like these things should go so much longer.
Oh,
but
100%.
equally, I think this is the right amount of time where the listeners like to stay engaged and keep listening to us.
Yeah, definitely.
So hence why we try and keep it to that sort of sub-hour mark. But
Awesome. All right, thanks, boys. Thanks everyone
Boys,
for
appreciate all
listening.
your support.
No worries. See you in the next one.